Let's go, everyone. Welcome into the PHNX Rising Podcast. Very excited. Happy to have everyone here on a Monday, a little different than our normal Tuesday, Thursday. We, of course, can't, not going to compete with the fireworks, but hey, plenty of sparks and fireworks from Saturday still we got to discuss. It's myself, of course, Max Simpson. Thankfully not joined by Owen Evans. Don't need that guy right now. And we're very blessed to be joined by Mr. Jake Anderson, who joined us on the postgame, liked us enough that he's going to stick around for today's show. Jake, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, Max. Thanks for having me, man. How are you?
Dude, doing well, man. Not too shabby. Honestly, just still kind of reveling in Rising's 6-0 victory. It's still kind of weird to say. I know we talked a lot about it on Saturday's postgame, and it's still, honestly, though, I look back at the performance, it kind of sits even better in my mind, even after the pure raw jubilation of just, absolutely destroying and shutting out one of the top teams in the East.
Yeah, I think the last game that this kind of result happened was against the Portland Timbers 2, who are, no longer in the league. For USL Championship anyway, but that was, back when the Rufa Data Shop days, and that's when COVID hit, right? And that was kind of like the last time we really saw Rising really take it to a team and dominate the way they did. And so it's a breath of fresh air, given the last 2 years have been a little bit bumpier than maybe some fans are used to.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, honestly, we've even, again, I'm not trying to be a broken record, but we've even said it on the pod throughout the course of the season, how, hey, there's been some performances that build up to this, and you're kind of waiting for, when is Rising going to take that leap? When is it really going to come together? And we've even seen lots of flashes, even more so match after match after match, especially in the last month. And I think it really was just a perfect storm of, Memphis playing, some of their worst ball of the season, and Rising absolutely clicking on all cylinders. And that perfect storm proved to be more than the difference Saturday night. It's, kind of taking a look back and really letting this game marinate for the last, almost 48 hours or so. Anything else stick out to you as to just why Rising were so dang dominant on Saturday?
I kind of want to go back to how hot it was. I don't really think I had an appreciation for really what the players were going through. I mean, to think back, 107 degrees is still freaking hot, man. I know the sun was down, and that does have a factor, but it's something that no team can prepare for. And, we were talking, earlier in the season how these summer months were going to be important for Rising to climb back up the table, because when you're hosting in the summer, you have such an advantage because no team can prepare for this. And you have to, and you look back at the old PHNX Rising, they were dominant in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
And it was scoring early. And I know internally they were waiting for the last 30 minutes to be the time when they could really take it to them. But these home matches in the summer, I know they're brutal. I know they're hard for fans, but you're going to see a good product on the field because these guys practice at 8, 9 a.m. They get done right before it's about 10. So it's hot, and they're getting used to it. And even in Memphis is a little humid. I do know that it's not the same. I mean, we were talking to Eddie Manjoma, and he was saying that when he was in Dallas, it's humid, but it's not this hot. And you just can't prepare for it. I know I sound like a broken record saying that, but it's something that you can take advantage of. And I think Rising will really be able to do that, especially that it was like the first time it was over 110. Yeah. And if you look at the forecast of weather, it did not get any cooler anytime soon.
It certainly is not. It's going the other direction, man. But no, it's honestly an interesting point. And it's something that I think, especially those of us who have lived in Arizona, either born and raised or been here for a while, it's still hot, but you're like, oh, okay, we're used to it. Maybe people just don't know the impact. But then you have to think these clubs who are playing all across the country and they're, acclimating to different environments, they come here. It is absolutely unlike anything that they're really expecting throughout the, day to day. Maybe the only thing that's even possibly comparable is New Mexico. And even that's Albuquerque. It's even a different climate there. But no, I mean, it's Rising figuratively and literally turning up the heat on Memphis. Let's actually take a look at the numbers that we went over on Saturday night, right? So the graphic here for those watching on YouTube. Yeah, it's, really that's the crazy
It's a beating, man.
It is no matter how you slice and dice it, this doesn't even tell the true story. I mean, again, XG here, 3.28. I could kind of like you mentioned on Saturday, Jake, there was a couple, quote unquote tap ins just based off of, really beautiful play development. But there were a couple shots, right? Like Joma's opener, even Arteaga's finish. Very low XG, just considering the distance, considering there's defenders in the way, going, 5-holing the keeper, megging him. It's all these different types of shots. It wasn't an easy night, but Rising seemed to make it look easy. And really, it's based off the fact that this efficiency, you're not going to get this every game. It's honestly kind of absurd. It's 12 shots, 10 on goal, and 6 in the back of the net. For those of you who are mathematicians, that's every 5 out of 6 shots is on target, and 1 out of every 2 shots, every other shot is in the back of the net. That is absolutely absurd. You're not going to find that efficiency really ever unless you're one of those clubs who you're taking like 2 shots and scoring 1 of them. But in a 6-goal match, that is absolutely insane. We've even seen stretches in that match kind of going back to it where, Rising's always threatening. It's maybe not always ending up in a shot. It's not like there's sequences of 2-3 shots where they're peppering a keeper. They were deliberate and they really made their chances count. But I just think it was something where there was a bit of an emphasis of this team of, hey, we're not going to just take wild shots to try to put them under pressure. We're going to be incredibly deliberate in our through balls, in our attacking buildup, and really just our positioning, especially out wide.
I think another thing, too, that we maybe didn't touch on Saturday night was the fact that, yes, Memphis was on a 12-match unbeaten, but their last couple of matches were draws, and they were draws in which they rescued the point, much like we'd seen Rising rescue a couple points in their 5-match unbeaten. So it was being proven that Memphis was beatable. And I don't know if it was 2 or there was at least one where Memphis was at home and they came back late. And it just proves that any team can be beaten on any given day, especially in this league. We've seen some weird results that you would not even think. I mean, look at Vegas coming into Phoenix and getting their first win of the season, which I believe might still be their only win of the season. And then, fast forward a month or two and Rising's beating Memphis 6-0. And that was definitely not something anyone would have predicted. Even the most optimistic of people on Saturday night. I mean, I know that Juan Guerra's son predicted 3-0, right? And that was optimistic. And look what happened. They did twice as good as that. So it's just one of those to where I don't necessarily know when you come into each match and if you're Phoenix, you were getting written off, right? This was a national game to where a lot of people didn't think you had a chance. You had an opportunity to show the entire world that, you're a lot better than people are giving you credit for. And I think that's actually something that really motivated them. And like you said, with the shots and the shots being on target, it was when over half the shots on target go in, like that's an absurd statistic in itself.
Yeah, it's honestly nuts. Again, I think there was even stretches of the game where, the first 10 minutes or so, they were Rising off possession, right? We kind of talked about how Memphis, clearly the larger team coming off the bus, so to speak, to use the other football term. And Rising very much, in a way, they struggled a bit. But then when they grew into the game, they really used that to their advantage of, okay, Memphis might be able to out-physical us. They might, quote unquote, be able to try to own the middle of the park, but we're just going to shoot our wingers really out wide and really cause overloads in those different spaces, right? I mean, it all resonates and kind of equals to, I'm seeing Mikey's comment in the chat, like Rising are back. Like this is something where we haven't seen this type of consistent offensive output in the different ways that they went about it in really a while. And actually, I want to throw up there's a nice graphic here with the different average positions of Rising players off of Saturday's match, right? And to give you an idea, right, for those of you who are watching on audio, you kind of see here, it's a big overload in the center of the pitch. It's kind of interesting how you have Darnell King pushed up to the midfield in his average position, almost alongside Renzo Zambrano and Carlos Harvey, and then Joma out wide. But the really interesting thing here, 2 things. Arteaga kind of tucking in, almost kind of pulling the defense on him. And this is what they played multiple times throughout the night, is almost that home run ball to Erickson Gallardo, almost isolated on an island by himself, 15, 20 yards out on that right-hand side. And something where it didn't always come off, but when it did, it resulted in multiple goals, and they found a lot of success with it, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I think this graphic actually does speak a lot, especially as you just said, that not so much, with the clogging of the center, that would make sense, obviously, with the way that Memphis plays, with everything facilitating through the middle with them, obviously, with the talented players that they have, with whether it's, Rodrigo da Costa, whether it was Aaron Malloy, whether it's Jeremy Kelly, They have a lot of talented guys, but the one to me, like you said, is Manu being a little more closer to the rest of his teammates than Gallardo and Danny Trejo. And I think if you looked at the goals that he scored, even the ones that he didn't score, having the center back breathing down his neck, I think Memphis really said, okay, we're going to try to take Manu out of this game and not give him a chance to breathe. We want you to have to beat us in these balls in behind. You're going to have to make a perfect pass, which Panos did. He did find Manu, and that did result in a goal. And also, you were going to say, hey, we're going to give Erickson Gallardo, we're going to give Danny Trejo their chances and their space out wide because we believe we can get back in transition. And they just weren't up for the test that they challenged Phoenix with. I mean, I think Juan got this game right tactically. I think he got it down perfectly, and his guys took their opportunities. And then at the end of the day, that's really what this game is all about, taking your chances. And the fact that you have guys who are talented in space. I mean, I've been saying it all year, get Danny Trejo out wide in space and he will do damage. Because if you've been watching PHNX Rising play Vegas the last 2 years, the guy has been an absolute menace when he has space on the wings. And it was a game plan that it's risky to play the high line that Memphis did. It can work sometimes, but it didn't work Saturday night. And I think if these two teams were to meet again, I'm wondering if Memphis tries to play a different style, at least defensively.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's 100%. I think it's something where, right, you mentioned Memphis, a lot of the strength of their team is within that spine. Rising definitely has to clog the midfield a bit, but it's actually seen Mikey's comments all near the center because of all the kickoffs. It actually kind of illustrates the point. Not only do we have the average starting or the average position of Rising players, but it's also even further illustrated by the touch map, which we also have that graphic as well. Again, this is going from left to right being the more attacking end. Actually kind of interesting here, Rising, a lot of where they concentrate the ball seemingly was in their own defensive half, which looking at this, I was actually kind of surprised given the offensive output. But really, what it kind of shows me is, again, for all the home run balls, quote unquote, that we mentioned that they hit and that they're able to go a bit more direct, it's not lost on this team that their identity and their core is built through playing it out of the back, playing deliberately, building it up through the midfield, through the different channels, being able to have their offensive wingers and Arteaga coming back for the ball, checking too. And it really helps unbalance everything. I mean, not to mention you have some absolute world-class, for USL standards at least, ball progressors in Carlos Harvey, in Apanos, even in Renzo Zambrano, very underrated in what he does. So you combine all that, to me, that kind of adds up to where this the big red shaded, which is more of where the touches are, is in the center of the pitch, a little bit in the defensive half, because that's where Rising's strong suit is. And then it just flows into the offense where I don't even think they spent as much time in the offense because it was just so dang quick and transition a lot of the times.
Oh, 100%. The touch map really hits on it too, because you see building out of the back obviously is the bread and butter of Juan Guerra's possession based style. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to utilize everyone in the middle of the pitch. The other team may or may not be pressing you, but obviously with Memphis playing in their 4-4-2, their 4-2-3-1, the formation changes if you have the ball or not. But the central of the park is where Memphis is wanting to defend. Mm-hmm. They don't allow you to come through the middle. So you don't even try to challenge that. You try to, as you said, work the ball up, use the outside. They're giving you space outside, you might as well take it. But Rising has talented wingers. And as the game happened, right, we were talking about Saturday night how you're really, really trying to make sure Manu doesn't get anything. You're really trying to make sure that the wingers don't get anything, and it opens up opportunity for guys like Edmund Joma who can take on to have a hit like that and set the tone for what the game was going to be. And obviously when you have a lead and an early lead, it's only going to open up more as the game goes on. And it was the perfect formula and the perfect execution and an overall just perfect game.
No, absolutely. I think the beautiful part about this ride is like, listen, Rising, no team, it's not a knock on them. It's no team is going to ever be that efficient in front of goal over, a massive, consistent run of matches. Like, again, those numbers, 12 shots, 10 on target, 6 in the back of that. That is absolutely absurd. So that's definitely not going to happen all the time. But I think the beautiful thing about this, and we've been seeing it building in recent weeks, really, if you really look at it, actually, if we're being honest, even during the hard stretches of Rising seasons, we have seen the attempt to play this type of fluid soccer. It just hasn't come off. Guys still learning each other. Again, a lot of the inflection point in my mind. Panos coming in, really helping to make those link up plays even easier. But we've really seen those come together more consistently and not just over a spurt here or there over the past month. And again, this type of match where, especially given a team like Memphis, where they're going to clog the midfield, where they're going to take away Arteaga, where they're trying to take away Carlos Harvey, where they don't want Danny Trejo checking with the ball, when you're overloading all those players, there is acres of space on the outside. And really, that's the ironic part, is that's where Rising's strength was throughout the first half of the season. Now you have a lot of guys getting back into form and a lot of depth in that mix. That's a recipe of, if you look at Rising, you're trying to take away one of their strengths, and then boom, another one emerges that was already there at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it could very well turn into kind of a pick your poison if you're trying to look at defending against Phoenix, because like you said, it's one of those to where you take away one thing, they'll just hit you with the other. And it's something that I'm really looking forward to is seeing how Emi Cuejo is going to get into this mix, because he's not a guy that's going to be staying on the bench very often. But to be honest, man, I don't know who you take out.
I don't know, man.
Because guys are in form, right? And I think the biggest thing also is, and I think another reason why Juan Guerra was so, his process does not necessarily equal the results every time, but give it time and it will, is because the goals that they were allowing were a lot to do with the mistakes they were making in their own half.
Yep.
Granted, you're then giving teams transition moments, which you cannot get back. You cannot defend. You're out of position. You're giving guys space 1v1 because you're giving it to them in bad situations. They didn't make mistakes Saturday night. You don't have to be perfect. You're going to make mistakes over the course of a season. You can't make the costly ones. Remember, the biggest one that stands out to me is when I think it was Panos' first home game. I believe it was against Oakland. They ended up winning or tying the game 2-2. Yep. But it was 1-1. They had just gotten the equalizer, and then he makes one bad ball, and that turns into a goal. And that game, Oakland was not very good. But Oakland seized on their opportunities that Rising gave them, because I believe the other one was a penalty, So it was kind of like, if you can negate those, they're stupid mistakes. I mean, these are professional footballers. You take those away, you play an 85% passing game. That's a good metric. I mean, anything higher than that, you're Man City. And then, as you said, you're getting guys back. You're getting guys that are healthy. If Fede can step up and become the guy that we thought he was going to be, I mean, this team's going to be dangerous. You might have 2 10s out there. You might have guys flying all the way around, and you might be able to get multiple double-digit goal scorers this year.
100%. And I think that you made the really good point on Saturday, is that this team's Achilles heel throughout the season has been injuries, has been guys staying healthy, especially at that winger, at that outside back position where, my gosh, the list of players who were unavailable was kind of staggering at times. And yet now the really ironic part is that same group that was really, I would say, the team's weakness, again, purely due to availability, it's now one of their strengths. And you have guys coming in, to your point, Cuejo, he's not going to ride the bench long, but like, who are you going to kick him out of? Uzo, he was having a massive run. He takes up a knock, and now you're not going to displace Eddie Manjoma. Like these are fantastic problems.
Kev Lambert's coming back in, probably 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. Like it's crazy. We are spoiled. And seeing Mikey's point, right? Then you get playmakers involved, like Panos assisting everyone. He just can't stop. I absolutely love to see it. It's something where, if I'm Memphis and you're kind of cheers, Tyler, by the way, cheers, everyone, happy 4th. If you're on Memphis, you're kind of looking at the score, especially at halftime, even after the first goal, that rock from Eddie Manjoma, and you're probably thinking, oh geez, how are we going to do this? But next time you think of OGs, you can turn to our friends at OGs Brands, man. They absolutely got you covered with the best scratch-made gummies in the game. Jake, you're already knowing, man, the transition game. It's good and bad, mostly bad, but it's always there. But yeah, we love our friends at OGs Brands because they're always there. The best edibles in Arizona. They got the pink lemonade. It's perfect 4th of July. Y'all are chilling by the pool. We actually have in my possession, in my house somewhere, a giant OG's pool floaty, like one of those that you can lay on. It's super nice. I think they actually might sell that on their website as well. But anyway, I digress. They got the pink lemonade gummies, the creams, the fruits, all that stuff. Absolutely phenomenal for your 4th of July shindig, bash, hoedown, hootenanny, whatever you want to call it, barbecue, all of that jazz. You can check them out at OG's Brands on Instagram. That's OGEEZ Brands on Instagram, as well as ogsbrands.com to find them at a local dispensary near you. Again, you must be 21 plus years or older to enjoy responsibly. And while you're enjoying OGs responsibly, grab some Circle K. Circle K and OGs, especially on a nice, hot, cool day like this, it's going to be absolutely refreshing. It's summertime. They got all the snacks you need. Nice cold bag of ice, too. You're going to need ice when you're barbecuing, doing everything tomorrow, whenever you're watching this. Check out Circle K. And not only can you grab the ice there, the snacks, everything at Arizona's local, people know that, Arizona's local convenience store and gas station. You can also fuel up with delicious Polar Pops. You text PHNX to 31310. Again, get at your phones, move those digits, text PHNX to 31310 to get a buy one, get one free Polar Pop on us, but really on our friends at Circle K, because they know how to support us and the Sport Rising and all of our fans in the chat. We appreciate you guys. Again, PHNX 31310. Do it now. Get some free Polar Pops. Thank us later. And thank you to our friends at Circle K as well for hooking us up. See it in the chat. Right. Continuing the conversation. Mike is saying, and yes, Lambert coming back at the right time. 5 games against the top 5 in the West coming up. Should miss Colorado Springs, but we'll need him for the others. Yeah, it's really interesting, right? 5 games against the top 5 in the West. It's something where, man, I don't know. Rising seems to play the East pretty darn well, pretty darn tightly. Some exceptions here and there, but the West, it's kind of a mixed bag of cats. There's more familiarity, kind of makes it more difficult. All I'm saying is this. People coming back, I think the beautiful thing about the blessing in disguise, not only of people getting injured, let me rephrase. It's not good that people got injured, but it forced you to work with a different group of players. And even when guys are coming back, I think it's not going to be as much of a chemistry hiccup as when different guys are coming back into the lineup, because you already have experience as your first full season as manager having to deal with these types of things. And again, if you're Juan Guerra, you got to like everything going on. It's a luxury to have.
Yeah, I think the last thing you would want, especially as the team starts to ascend at this time of the year, is guys to get complacent thinking that, their position is solid regardless of what happens. And I think that's the exact opposite of what's happening now, because you have, whether it's Kev coming back eventually and it's guys like Cuejo coming back that are healthy, that weren't necessarily in the beginning of the year, that should be starters but have to work their way back, and you have to bring it in training. You can't just show up on match day and expect to start. And I think that'll just make you better. And in training, it makes you better because everyone's competing against each other. Well, that might not sound the best when it comes to sports. That's what you need. That competition breeds competition. And I just think that just bodes so well, especially when you start to get to the time of year where you're playing twice a week. You got guys who are going to sit or maybe play 30 minutes at midweek and then play the full 90. That way you're only playing 120 minutes a week instead of a full 180, and then you're fried by that third game in 8 days. You'll be able to play multiple teams, and that's a team that's dangerous to defend, because when you're trying to game plan for a team that has quote-unquote multiple teams within it, you really have there's no slowdown. Because those teams may not have the same depth, and those teams are going to be playing their quote-unquote second team, and they're not going to be able to keep up. And that's something that Rising can really, really take advantage of, especially with, as Michael said, the head-to-head that's going to be coming up against the teams that are above you. And if you look at the standings, man, it is so tight. You really have an opportunity to be one of these top teams. And come the end of August, when the weather starts cooling off and you take advantage of all these home matches, you could really have an opportunity to be the third, second. And, if you catch fire, you could win the West.
Yeah. Again, for context, just for those of you who don't have the table out in front of them, Rising right now, they're in the middle of the pack, right? They're currently sitting 6th in the table. There is, this is how Razor Tide is in the West. They are 5 points behind second place El Paso with 30 points and 5 points ahead of 11th place RGV with 20 points. Again, 10 points separate second and 11th place. Again, Rising squarely in the pack of that. Sac Republic pulling away slightly with 33. Granted, Lights only 9 points of the season. They're very much dragging bottom. But again, it goes to show a win coupled with a couple losses here and there, Rising could jump up to even, 4th place. They can go into that pole position, host and playoff match and everything. To me, that's a great opportunity, especially knowing this team is peaking. This team is having a great stretch run. Again, 5-match unbeaten streak. And the performances continue to improve after each match. Very encouraging. Again, we keep on echoing it. We're not trying to beat a broken record here, but love to see it.
I mean, if you look at it, you look at their next 9 matches,
Mm-hmm.
7 of them are against teams that are above you. I mean, you really have an opportunity here in the summer months. Granted, not all of them are at home. Some of them are on the road. But I mean, you look at coming down the stretch here, the last game in August, you're hosting SAC. And
Yep.
then, August 12th, you're hosting El Paso. The game before that, you're hosting San Antonio. And you'll be in Northern California the 2 games before that. And that's going to be one of those 3 games in 1 week type of deal, which you start off against with Colorado Springs at home. You take this kind of that double team mentality that you have. You have the home games against good teams at home. That, I mean, let's face it, Sacramento and Monterey, they don't really have the hottest of weather.
Yeah.
You're going to have decent weather when you go up there. So you're going to be playing, and then you're going to play against San Antonio and El Paso. Granted, those places are hot.
Yeah.
But you're at home. You're going to be building momentum. School for the kids is going to be coming up soon. So families will be back in town. The crowd might be a little bigger. The momentum of the team winning might be there. I mean, I'm just saying, we were talking about on Saturday, where is Rising going to be at the end of July? Where are they going to be at the end of August? The time is now. The opportunity is now, because if you look at how the season ends, you got a lot of East Coast competition, and then you're on the road for a decent amount. So it'll be interesting, man. I really think this is an opportunity, and they understand what's at stake, and I think they're starting to ascend at the right time, and hopefully they can eventually peak in October and November.
100%, man. There's no lies detected. It's something where all signs and trends indicate to this isn't a flash in the. I mean, again, the result, this 6-0, it's not going to happen every time, but it's not a flash in the pan. This isn't a surprise result out of nowhere. And again, even for Memphis, when again you look at it on the surface, right? Hottest team in the league, particularly in the East. The fact that had the best goal differential coming in, the best goals per match coming in, and Rising just cooled them off. And you mentioned there might be an underlying trend of like the last 2 matches were draws, that they had to rescue themselves a bit, and kind of taking a look at the other side of the coin for this match, in that while Rising was absolutely hitting everything, Memphis, for their vaunted attack, talking to John Morrissey in, earlier midweek last week, thing that he mentioned is like Memphis has been pretty particularly damaging on a lot of those counterattacks, especially with whipping crosses in. And we got a graphic here. It's not to say that they're not lethal on their day, but today, on Saturday, it was not one of those days. Again, for those of you watching on here, this is all the crosses, good and bad, that Memphis was able to put in on Saturday. The green being successful and the red being unsuccessful. There's 3 crosses that are successful, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 unsuccessful crosses. I think the interesting thing to note here is, again, you don't have Kev Lambert in the back. You have Darnell King, who can deputize with the best of them, wearing the captain's armband. And I think, right, a lot of the knock against Darnell King and, in some of the performances, and even you would see it at the time last season, is maybe he doesn't have the best pace anymore. But the beautiful thing about this is the match that Rising faced, especially with these crosses getting whipped in from some really kind of deep areas, really actually suited Rising incredibly well. And the height that they possessed in the back line, they really were not challenged too much. And to credit to the defense, they absolutely more than held up.
Yeah, the graphic says it all. And that was something we were talking about, how for a team that we knew was so critical in transition, they were not able to play their own game. And I think that speaks volumes as to the type of defense that Phoenix Rising played in getting their first clean sheet at home in league play.
Yep.
And I think because Darnell has platooned as a center back at times, whether it was in the 3 at the back system, but the way that they shift and the way that they attack, I mean, when Jomo was going up, so that Darnell was not, so that then shifts that 3 at the back and just recreates what you were already doing, right? As you change your formation in defense and change your formation in offense, and you have a fluid system about you. And I think because the familiarity of playing that position, it was just a seamless transition to take what used to be a 3-5-2 and kind of mold it more into a 4-2-3-1, 4-4-2. I mean, again, it's semantics when it comes to talking about the formations, because they're so fluid. But there is that base in the middle of, there will always be 3 guys at the back. You will have overloaded sides. And at the end of the day, when you get the guys up front who are going to get isolated against the opposing fullbacks, especially with some fullbacks do not defend well, right? I mean, we've seen that in the modern day football where there are wing backs and then there are fullbacks, and there's wing backs that do more attacking than they do defending. And if you can pick out who those are and you can pick your spots, and especially if you can overload with a guy like Panos and who can just feed guys in behind it, just you can really exploit. But I know we were talking about the defense. It's a great performance. It's good to see that. Now can they do it again? That's the biggest question. Can you take this performance and carry it on to multiple performances and build this streak? Can you go, you don't have to go 10 unbeaten, but can you, in your next 5, can you get 10, 11, 12 points, right? These are the goals you have to get now, because it's no more 6 points out of 15. That's not good enough. You got to get 10, 11, 12 out of these next 15 points possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And, even seeing, right, the formation that we kind of looked at earlier, kind of alluded to it, hearkening back to the average positioning, how, at the core of it, right, the setup with, 3 in the back, but then you have Manjoma pushing up ahead more, Darnell King shifting into almost like a double pivot in a way, the way the average position was. And again, you look at the opposition, you're facing a midfield trio, essentially, when they push up of, call it Darnell King, if he's pushing up there, Kev Lambert, whoever's pushing up, Renzo Zambrano and Carlos Harvey in the midfield. It's like, good luck, man. Like, that's a lot of big bodies. That's a lot of ball destroyers. Like, I don't like the opponent's chances when that happens. Now, I think the thing we've seen in the past is, knowing how Rising plays, how they like to push their wingbacks up, how they can at times, really look to shift the field of play. There is the penchant for being able to get hit with those crosses. And that's actually been really a lot of the times where Rising has leaked a lot of goals of, hey, some of those entry balls that, to me, the one against Vegas comes to mind of, kind of a guy unmarked, able to dribble for, 10, 15 yards unmarked, puts in a cross from a pretty deep angle, and just no one picks it up because Rising committed numbers forward. And, it's something that's going to happen from time to time, but especially if you play a team who, if you're not getting your crosses off like Memphis did not, again, good luck, because I don't think you're beating this team through the midfield. You're either going to beat them through, I would say, crosses or, some of those errors that they've forced upon themselves, but you're just not seeing that from Rising as of late. They've cleaned it up. And again, Kev Lambert coming back, the defense continuing to gain solidity. Great to see for Rising fans.
I also think another thing that the 2 center back system compared to the 3 center back system does for you is, so with that 3-5-2, you're clogging the midfield, right? But with the 4 in the back, you're not as prone to being exploited out on the wings. Yeah. And we had heard Juan say, like, no one pressured the guy delivering the ball. That doesn't happen with a 4 at the back system, because it can't. You will always have a full back to be able to attack whoever that guy is. So, and then at the same token, that diagonal ball does not necessarily have as much opportunity, because that space is then being marked on the back post. And then what it does for you as well in the midfield is, while you might not have that full line across that clogs, at the end of the day, you still have the clog in the midfield. And that midfield clog, when you have the double pivot, you may not necessarily get all your attackers up, but you'll get at least 2 or 3 in the midfield to clog their midfield trio. The passing has to be perfect from an offensive standpoint if you're going to break it down, right? That is something that the likes of, like, the Spanish national team has shown. Like, they can be perfect with their passing, and you try to put as many guys in the middle of the park, and they can still pass it around you. The USL level, some teams can do it. Rising is a team that has shown they can do it, but when you do make that mistake, that's when you get poached. That's when you get countered. So I think the transition of 4 at the back from the 3-5 system has been really, really paying off for them, being that it does not allow for these crosses to be coming in, whether it's the diagonal ball or whether it's just going out and pressuring the guy who's out on the wing. These guys aren't having time in the middle. The passes have to be crisp. The passing has to be perfect. And it just puts a lot of pressure on Rising's opponents now. And if Rising can continue to do that defensively, I really think the sky's the limit, because they've shown that if they can attack and win the ball, they'll be able to keep it. So it'll just be fluid and switching of play. And I'm just really excited to see what happens now with Quajo coming back, and eventually when Kev comes back too.
Oh man, dude, it's honestly like crazy to think about. Of like, wait, we're getting even more reinforcements back to it. No, I mean, to your point, I think the beauty, kind of the dichotomy of the Juan Guerra system is for as stick-to-itiveness that he has, for playing out of the back, for progressing forward, for not always wanting to play the route one ball that we've seen, in rising years previous past. He does really emphasize the fluidity of the system. Like, hey, even if it's quote unquote on paper a 4 in the back, how it's, I think the biggest thing that we've seen the progression of from the positioning of rising players is especially those outside backs or the wing backs or the winger, however you want to define the the players on the outside, really having that awareness of being, knowing when to go, knowing when to stay, but not even so much as necessarily specific triggers, but even just knowing like, hey, you're going to put in a shift. You're going to put an absolute shift. We're going to be running up and down the pitch for most of the match, but that's okay because now we have reinforcements coming back to your point of all these players that they know their role and they stick to it 100%. Something that, I know that I'm going to be sticking to 100% is our friends at Four Peaks. Friends at Four Peaks, I'm going to be sticking with them tomorrow when I'm going to be enjoying a nice little 4th of July barbecue out at the pool. They got the kilt lifters. They got the tee shot. I'm going to be enjoying some Wowie. Personally, I think it's nice in the sun, a little IPA actions, all of that jazz. Absolutely love it. It's fantastic. You can guys get down on some Four Peaks at the Ray Street Pub. They got always the good specials, the delicious food, all of that jazz. Check them out at the Ray Street Pub. Check them out on Instagram at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub. And grab them near you. They're all over the valley. As you guys know, it's Arizona's hometown brewery. Again, you must be 21 years or older to enjoy Four Peaks responsibly. And rumor has it that soon to be announced, going to do a little Women's World Cup USA watch party at Four Peaks. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. More information. Again, follow at PHNX _ rising for more information. And speaking of,
Italy made that World Cup. We made it.
Let's go, baby. Let's go. You got them going all the way?
No, they're talented, but they're not.
That's fair. It's a different.
They're not as talented as the U.S., Sweden, Norway.
Yeah,
those girls are talented.
I think it's gonna. I still think they definitely have a deep run in them, and honestly, like shoot, might even be worth. Gotta experiment, maybe doing more of an in-depth show as we get close to a little special edition. But I actually think it makes it incredibly intriguing this time around, where it's like, hey man, like let's see if they're able to repeat, because it's definitely that the people say the chasm that's always been there. Certainly not there anymore, but it's going to be very must-see appointment viewing. Again, check out us on Twitter at PHNX _ rising for more info on when that will be dropping. More news dropping as well with our friends at Valley Tap Room. You guys know to go to them. They got the Four Peaks there. They also got wine slushies. They got other wine on tap. They got all the different kinds of great stuff. A little patio, even when it's cooler out. It's not bad in the evening. Trivia Tuesday. Always got live music, all kinds of fun stuff. Again, rumor has it, we're also going to be doing a little World Cup watch party action at Valley Tap Room as well for our friends on the east side, want a little more intimate setting. So check out Valley Tap Room on Instagram at Valley Tap Room and in person off of 202 and Gilbert. Again, Valley Tap Room, more information coming with them as well. Again, follow us at PHNX _ rising for that more information. But man, it's good to refuel with those guys. See Eddie in the chat. Eddie, dude, you're a knucklehead, man. Did I miss the show? How much did I miss? Get out of here. Any spooky characters appear behind them? It's actually kind of bright out here, man, because it's still pretty bright out with summertime, 6 o'clock. I don't see any figures. Jake's room is, I think, even more lit than mine. So we're chilling there. Mike, I like the USA shirt. Max Beach has been listening to on his interview talking about sticking to the process and working collectively. Man, we got to get a bingo card going or something, BJ Callahan, with the page out of the Juan Guerra playbook. I don't want to talk around the USL. You were texting me beforehand that notably there were no rising players, or excuse me, there was not a rising candidate for USL Player of the Week, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Correct. Got my ballot today from Nick Murray, and of the 5 nominees, none of them play for PHNX Rising, which did catch me by surprise. It doesn't mean that multiple players can't make the team, right? There's 11 that start, and then 7 that are on the bench or honorable mention, so that's 18. But we now know that there's only 13 spots left. So so the first 5 didn't go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I assume at least 2. You got a guy like Gallardo who has an assist and a goal, right? Yeah. I think that might be the one thing that maybe hurt him is no one had multiple goals.
Yeah.
Panos has been assisting left and right, as Michael said in the chat. I mean, Rocco had a shutout and an assist and a save, right? And then Eddie, as a defender, had a goal, a really nice goal as well.
Yeah.
I mean, those might be some of the guys that make it, but we'll find that out tomorrow. But yeah, not having any nominees after a 6-0 win against Memphis on national television, that was a little shocking to me, especially when I believe Panos was nominated last week when they didn't win.
Yeah, kind of a crime. Maybe it's almost the unfortunate circumstance of everyone had seemingly everyone had such a good match that maybe there were no standouts. And I even push back on that because, again, like I think there were multiple players who were just even a slight notch above the rest. You mentioned Gallardo, you mentioned Panos, even if he's notching the one assist, maybe not a goal, but like still putting in work there. Carlos Harvey with a goal and an assist. Really interesting work. I mean, right. Again, we talk about the variety of goal scorers. I'm curious. Okay, here we go. If you had to name, you mentioned two. Paul, you said probably around two or so might be named team of the week. The 6 goal scorers: Manjoma, Harvey, Arteaga, Gallardo, Trejo, Varela. And granted, Varela came on as a sub. Which of those 6 would you name to that team of the week? Chat, I would love to hear your vote as well.
I think Eddie for sure, because as an A, he's a defender, but B, the goal that he scored as well. Again, it all depends on how you look at it. I mean, Erickson Gallardo's goal and assist, did it necessarily mean as much because the game was kind of getting out of hand at that point? Maybe, maybe not. But at the end of the day, a goal and an assist is a goal and an assist. Manu, he is the golden boot leader at this point, right? And he can't do anything more than score goals when he has the opportunity to, and he's doing that. You know, Panos's passing accuracy and his pass completion is phenomenal. Like, these guys are doing exactly what they're asked to do. At the end of the day, does the team of the week really matter? Not so much. More so, I know they're going to be more results oriented. Maybe an end of the year award might help them out financially if that's in their contract. That I don't know. But yeah, if I really had to put one, I'd put my money on Eddie being there because the goal he scored and the fact that it came from a defender and it had a clean sheet. So literally, as a defender, he can't do anything more than that.
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of activity in the chat, right? Eddie saying Arteaga, Manjoma, Gallardo, Mikey with Harvey and Manjoma, Steven with Manjoma and Gallardo. Eddie with Panos is the best USL player of all time. Absolutely love it. Andrew Baker with an Eddie is up for goal of the week, as he should. Listen, I haven't even seen what else is out there. That's a freaking rocket. Give him that award right now. Give him the dub. It's just awesome to see. And also, that's the crazy thing too about Rocco. Like, had one save because there was one shot on goal, but like the fact you notch an assist, I don't know, man. I'm not saying I expect him to win, like, or make it to the team of the week, but like, that's got to be worth something. Like, that just doesn't happen. Like, rarely ever.
Many saves as assists.
That's crazy.
And a clean sheet.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Look. I'm looking at the ballot now. Yeah. The midfield is pretty stacked. That's why I don't think Harvey is going to have a chance, just because statistically he has nothing, right? And we all know awards go to stats, and that's why defenders are usually wing backs, and very rarely does a center back get any credit for actually doing his job correctly. Goalkeepers, it's right who makes the most saves, but that's usually because your team is not very good. So like Manuel Neuer doesn't necessarily have a ton of saves, but it's because his team has the ball all the time, and it's just one of those. So it's awards, right? It goes to stats. So I wouldn't be too disappointed if it didn't go Phoenix's way. As the chat's been saying, that as the great Zach Lubin used to say, I don't think these guys even watch the games. So I do my best. I do my best to represent the Western Conference the best I can. But hey, I can only vote on who's been nominated. So there are quite a few from the East this week.
That's fair. Hey, what can you do? You're doing the honest work, good sir.
None are going to come from Memphis. I can guarantee that.
Yeah. Oh no, that's a very fair shout. Yeah, certainly not. I feel very, very safe saying that. A lot of activity around the USL, right? There are a couple of marquee matches on Saturday. I'm not going to go Owen style, read them all out because, I can't do justice like he does. Also, I don't have my Siri voice program like he does. But a couple of notable results, right? Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Louisville City, 0-0. Kind of interesting there, especially two top dogs out there in the East. San Antonio 3, Birmingham Legion 1. Birmingham Legion, man, what a topsy-turvy season they have had. San Antonio continuing to crush it per usual. This is kind of what I was alluding to in the Western Conference table. Orange County 3, Monterey Bay 1. Don't look now. Orange County absolutely on the precipice of falling off the cliff. And like I said, they're within sniffing distance, as are a lot of other teams in the West, of kind of creeping back into the playoff picture. So go freaking figure there. And then last one notable from Saturday I'd like to shout out is Sac Republic 1 and RGV 1. Again, a lot of matches coming up on the horizon for rising opponents and everything like that. So it's good to know that there are some results where guys above Rising are drawing or maybe not having the most emphatic results. Kind of interesting to see. Again, I think we have said it multiple times on this podcast, but this entire USL season is drunk.
Yeah, and another thing that I was just noticing is looking at the weather for Saturday in Miami, calling for rain. It's going to be a wet one down there. And so, if I'm not mistaken, they play on turf. And we all know turf and rain is not a good look, not a good feel. So we'll see how that match hands out, because Miami is just not a good team this year. They're kind of an up and down team as it is anyway. But when you add the elements in, I know some players enjoy playing in the elements. But hey, man, the ball's slippery. A keeper can make a mistake. So it's one of those where you have to keep your focus for 90 minutes because, we saw Carlos Harvey's goal, right?
Yeah,
it was on a spill. I was on a smash of a free kick. So we'll see what happens, but it's all up for the taking.
It's gonna be an interesting one for sure, especially when we're talking about the weather. Don't discount it, man. Never know what happens. Also, good point, Mikey. Thank you. I missed that one. Indy 2, Loyal 2, Aiden Quinn. If I remember correctly, a pair of kicks from the spot to decide to help draw that one up.
And a Player of the Week nomination.
There we go. We love to see that. Yes. Shout out to Aiden Quinn for helping help turn the tides in the Western Conference for Rising with their draw against Loyal. Say that again?
So with a 10-man Indy side, they did get
Dude, yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. Again, the season is absolutely drunk, but hey, I guess the transition of everyone's going to get drunk tomorrow. We appreciate everyone joining us, if you guys are so inclined to. Okay, no pressure per usual, but appreciate everyone joining us on a, kind of pre-July 4th little action. Whatever you guys are doing, again, make sure you have fun, be safe, all of that jazz. We're going to be catching you guys Wednesday, so day after the 4th. Again, go on the Monday, Wednesday this week, Wednesday at 6.
Studio.
We're going to be in studio, and, Mr. Jake Anderson is not sick of us yet. So at least not sick of me. He's deputizing for Owen in a much better way than that guy ever could. So he's actually going to get in studio with us. It's going to be a fun time. Again, Wednesday at 6, join us. We're going to preview the match against Miami FC. It's going to be a fun one. We're just going to keep riding the high of this 6-0 win. But again, everyone be safe, have fun tomorrow on July 4th. You can follow us on Twitter at PHNX__Rising. You can follow me on Twitter at Max David Simpson. You can follow Jake on Twitter at JWA1994. Jake, before we sign off, anything else for the people?
Oh man, I'm looking forward to Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing the studios and previewing Miami. This is going to be a fun week.
Dude, let's go and eat OGs for barbecue. On that note, oh man, it's the beautiful game, folks. It's even more beautiful when you keep riding the high of 6 goals and you got a little barbecue and some beer in your belly. Enjoy, have fun, be safe. We'll catch you guys on Wednesday. Laters.
Ciao.